Hello and welcome to the podcast all about becoming a health coach. I am your host, Megan McCrory. I am a trained health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I'm also a certified international health coach. And welcome back. I know you guys haven't gone anywhere, but I did. It's been 3 years and a couple of weeks since the last time I've recorded an episode. And I've always had some good intentions about recording, and it just doesn't happen and doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden 3 years has passed. Raise your hand if you've ever had something like that happen to you, where you just keep procrastinating, keep putting it off, and then you feel like you just can't come back from that. But I am coming back because it's my podcast, gosh darn it, and I love this platform, and I love the fact that many of you have reached out to me via email, via social media, and we've connected, and I just don't want to see that go away. I still value that as a way to engage with you and to meet more wonderful people around the world. And you know what happens when 3 years passes. There is a lot to talk about. So I've started and stopped several times writing an outline for this thing, and that seems to be the hurdle I have to overcome is the outline. So I'm not doing an outline because frankly, I know exactly what I want to say. And if I tangent a little bit here and there, I know you're going to forgive me because there's just a lot to cover. So I will briefly start with, I quit my corporate job and I've started my own business, and it is a health coaching business. So hopefully that's grabbed your attention for the moment. And now I'm just going to pop back in time to what has happened very briefly over the last 3 years. So my last episode was in November of 2019, right before the pandemic started. And I would love to say that the pandemic had some bearing in me not recording an episode, but not really. Actually, one of the reasons I wasn't recording a lot of episodes, or any episodes really, was because I wasn't doing a whole lot with my health coaching. And I was also quite depressed during COVID. So I guess that does have a little bit to do with COVID. So my journey, and most of you will know this if you've already been listening to the podcast, really started in around 2017 when I decided that I was not happy with what I was doing at work. So I started to look outside, what could I do differently? And, I thought about becoming a nutritionist, decided that that was too big of a leap at the moment. So then reframed that and kind of found the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN. And I signed up for that in November of 2017. Then I took that entire year, 2018, to go through the health coaching training program, which was amazing. I still stand by my recommendation that it is a great program to do, even just for yourself, even only if you never want to become a health coach. I think that program is still good to teach yourself how to listen to your body and coach yourself effectively. So I took that training and I coached people. I had, clients. I never had more than one client at a time because I was always working full time in a corporate job in the medical device industry. Now, in 2019, I came out of the gate like ready to go, like, what can I do with coaching? I was able to implement a lot of coaching things into my corporate role. Actually, I had some really good support within the corporate company I was working for to allow me to bring in some of these coaching techniques, mindfulness training, other things like that. So that was really helpful. I was able to really test out a few things, see what really resonated with me, what did I like doing, what did I not like doing. At the same time, though, I switched roles within the company. And as a person with ADHD, that was one of the things that I really needed was to change roles. And I went into digital marketing inside the company. And that was something very new for me. But I knew at the time that I really wanted to start my own business and that these skills would be what I needed for the future. So I was very happy to take that role, very happy to continue making my salary and continue coaching outside of the building or outside of my corporate job. But then, of course, COVID happened in January of 2020, and that all stopped at work. Meaning all my extracurriculars that I was doing to kind of keep me motivated. So throughout the whole pandemic time period, as I mentioned earlier, I got depressed. I wasn't leaving the house. I'm an extrovert. I need to see people. It was not a good time for me, and I didn't realize how much it affected me until later. So that was something that I learned about myself, and I feel like it still has a little bit of the repercussions of home office and getting out of the rhythm of meeting people in real life, although that has come back a lot in the last couple months. But in general, I wasn't feeling mentally in a great place to be coaching people either. So keep that in mind as you're becoming a health coach, that it is a lot of energy for you to coach other people, and you do have to be compassionate with yourself. And if you do need to take a step back, that is something that you should think about and plan into your strategy of becoming a health coach. If you need to take time away, or you should schedule time away, how are you going to manage your finances around that? How are you going to manage your clients, etc.? So that is definitely something to keep in mind if you're going to be working by yourself. So sometime in spring 2021, I had come up with a business model for coaching that I thought would work. That would mean working, meaning that it's sustainable, that it is scalable, and that I would not be, I'd actually make money, make a living doing health coaching, which is the dream, right? And bear in mind that since 2018, I had been saving because I knew at some point I would quit my corporate job. I just didn't have the timing picked out quite then. So April 2021, I come up with a plan on, how to a different business model, which I will completely explain in detail in a minute. But I had no big trigger on when to pull the trigger of leaving my corporate job and starting. Now, I've been saving, so I was like, I didn't have a monetary value that I needed to reach before I quit. I didn't have a specific timing. And when you don't have a specific timing, then it really could happen anytime. It doesn't happen anytime. So, what did happen, however, was in the fall of 2022, a friend of mine had decided that she would like to switch up her life a little bit and quit her corporate job and take a year off to think about how she wants to change her life. And I decided, because this person was a very close friend of mine and we had very similar situations in terms of working in Switzerland, being not Swiss, we decided to quit together. And we did that as kind of a little project. We each did our homework and our research about what it would take to stay in the country without having a corporate job, basically managing our residency and all these things that if you're living in your home country, you don't need to think about, on top of coming up with a budget and determining how long would I have in order to make a go at this without having any kind of additional income coming in and still paying my portion of the bills every month into our me and my partner's pot of money. All of that was planned out, arranged. So by October of 2021, I had decided that I would quit my job in January of 2022. And in Switzerland, we have a 3-month notice period, which means to the end of the month. So I quit in early January, and that meant that I worked until the end of April. And I did. I worked my butt off. I did as much as I could to make sure that my handover was perfect and that the organization was not going to crumble just because I left, which of course it never does, but it's always nice to know. And this was also a big step for me because I'd been with the company for 17 years. That's a long time to be with a company nowadays. And it's the same company that brought me to Switzerland. So there's a lot of emotion behind that as well. But I never regretted my decision. I felt like I probably could have done it sooner. I probably could have done it later. But the time that I did it was the right time for me. So I went ahead and I quit my job in January, and May 1st, I became my own boss. While I was going through the process of transitioning out of the company, I was actually founding and registering my own company. And in the US or in English-speaking countries, I founded what's called a LLC, or a limited liability company. And in German, where I am at in Switzerland, it's German speaking, and we call this a GmbH or GmbH, is what you'll see after the letters after the name of the company. And that simply means that I have created a company and I am an employee of that company. I am not what is called a solo entrepreneur. I am not a self-employed. That is a whole different status. Self-employed means that my finances mingle with the company's finances, and I didn't want to have any of that jazz going on. So I have a whole company. I have a pension plan. I have everything set up. It was probably a little overkill for the moment, but I was going to do it anyway, and I would love to have a team and hire people. So I just thought it was more prudent to start off with a GmbH or LLC as I get the business going. So that was happening in March. So I think March 4th or 8th was the day that my company was founded. My company is called Little Elephant, which means absolutely nothing. I wanted it to mean nothing because I want the company to be kind of independent from the brand or the products that I'm selling, just in case I decide to change my mind or shift directions. The company is registered as a consultancy, a consultant's company. So whatever I'm doing has to be in that vein of consultancy, or I will need to change it because of tax reasons if I decide to do selling products for some reason or whatever. So so I've started this company, Little Elephant. However, I have kept and retained the MyBestSelf.fit, which is what I've had since 2018, as my website name, as my business name, and now it's my community name. So it's everything to do with the health coaching side of stuff is MyBestSelf.fit. Now I want to kind of shift a little bit and tell you what it's been like to work on my own, some of the problems that I've had, some of the issues I've had to overcome. What does it feel like? Again, as I told you at the top of the hour, I did not outline this, so I'm just going based off kind of how I would talk to you if we were having coffee. So get a cup of coffee or tea, and this will make a lot more sense then. So to get started, I love not working for a company. I can't probably state that enough because I love the freedom to pursue exactly the topics, things, exactly what I want to do. And being now independent has actually put me into a position where I need to network a lot more. I need to meet up with a lot more people. And I tell you, I, again, did not realize how much I missed meeting new people, because the entire time I'm working at the company, at my old company, I didn't need to go to networking events and things like that. I wasn't in sales or anything where I needed to do that kind of stuff, so I didn't. And even if I had wanted to, you're kind of exhausted at the end of the day, and going out and, putting on a good face and trying to come up with good conversation at a networking event is not necessarily something I was up for while I was working my corporate job. But now I absolutely love it. I've gotten completely back into visiting. I go to Zurich a lot more. Actually, I've been to Zurich more in the past 6 months than I have in the entire 13 years that I've lived in Switzerland. Simply because there are wonderful people that I want to meet up with. So, for example, I am part of a group called Female Founders that's in here in Switzerland. And that is just a wonderful group of women that are all founders in business, all different kinds of businesses. And that's very inspiring to me to be around these other women, to talk about my business, to hear what their businesses are, to see how we can support each other, to get ideas, to get motivated, to bitch about being your own boss and all the downsides that come with it as well. So, and the other thing that I have is what's called a mastermind group. Highly recommend that you have a mastermind group, regardless of whatever your career aspirations are. Mastermind groups are amazing. And so our group is a group of 4 women who we all met with, here in Switzerland. And we just meet and we talk about our businesses. We each have about a half an hour of time to kind of say what we're doing, what's our wins, like what were the good things that have happened, and what are we struggling with. And then we always ask each other, like, what do you need us to help you with? What do you need us to do? Do you need us to call every day or every week, or do you just need us to repost some social content for you? Or it could just be, just knowing that we're there. So these 2 are good examples of social business ways that I've expanded my social circle, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And I can't wait to meet more people this year as well. Another thing that I love about working for myself is that I get to set my own hours and how many hours I work and how hard I work. Now, my husband would definitely say that I don't work hard enough, but we are completely different people. So I am working, I would say, about 4 to 6 hours a day on average. Okay, so probably more towards the 4 hours. And that's fine for me. Now, could I work more? Of course I could work more. Could I work harder? Of course I could work harder. But sometimes, I didn't know exactly what to do, right? And that is what I would say, not a downfall, but it's definitely a struggle. When you are by yourself, you're running your own company, you have everything you need to do and you need to think about. And this can be a struggle because if your brain is not working at the moment, or you're stuck somewhere, it's really hard to keep going. It's really hard to stay motivated. And that's another reason why having these groups is good, because then even if I am in some place where I'm a bit stuck and I don't know what the next move is, I have I meet up with these wonderful people and I'm motivated again, or I get ideas start flowing again. So that's why another reason why that's important. But when you're by yourself, and now I can decide how I really want my day to go. And I've decided that every morning I want to go for a 3-kilometer walk before I start working. And I also want to, tidy up the house and do other things. And that might mean that I don't start working until 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock. And then I work for a couple hours and have lunch. And then I work again in the afternoon. And then I stop. You know what? I am fine with that. And in the long term, the whole point of working for myself is that I can be flexible with my time and do work when I want. Like when I was home with my family over the holidays, I was home for 5 whole wonderful weeks from Thanksgiving to Christmas. And throughout that whole time, I was working. Now, I didn't work every day and I didn't work 8 hours a day, but I did do a lot. And I was super happy with being able to work away from my computer and still get a lot of stuff done, productive stuff, like actual good stuff. So that I think is definitely a plus if you like to be independent, if you want to do the things you want to do. I know it sounds like a toddler, like I just want to do the things I want to do, but isn't everybody just wants to do the things they want to do? So I've touched on working when I want and how I want and meeting a bunch of people, but also the downside is, everything is on your shoulders and you have to figure everything out, which I find both good and bad. So I would say that's a plus and a minus in terms of, or let's say a bonus and a struggle as we keep going. Okay, I think because I'm looking at the time, I am going to go ahead and stop this episode here as kind of where I've been for the last 3 years. And I'm super happy I was able to kind of cram all that in 20 minutes. And I hope that you enjoyed listening to where I've been and you now understand why I did not post for 3 years. But what I'm going to do is gonna immediately record the second part of this where I will talk to you all about my business model and what it is I'm offering to the world in terms of being a health coach. So join me in the next episode as you'll learn a lot more about the business side of what is going on with my career. Thanks, everyone. Hey, you're still listening. Great. Okay, now I can tell you about my 12-week goal setting session. So in this 1-hour session, I'm going to help guide you through a powerful process inspired by the best-selling book, The 12-Week Year. I know everybody at this time of the year starts to think about year-long goals. And I would argue that year-long goals are really hard to contextualize. What is going to be happening in a year from now? You have no idea. But 12 weeks gives you a little bit better understanding because you kind of already have your calendar booked out for the next 12 weeks, kind of know what's going to be going on. So if you can focus your goals on the next 12 weeks, you can make some really big actionable steps towards your long-term vision. So in this 1-hour session, we do talk about long-term vision. We talk about where you want to be. We talk about what your 5-year, 10-year, 3-year, all those goals are. But that's only a brief part. We know we see the long distance view, but let's break that down. And then we get into the 1 to 3 strategic 12-week goals that are going to get you to those long-term vision. Then we're going to put that into a really cool action plan with like checklists and timing and all that jazz to make sure that you are clear and that you have accountability to get those goals done. And then that's not it. Then we are going to tackle your roadblocks because you have roadblocks. So we're going to tackle those roadblocks. We're going to create a plan to overcome them. So when you start to self-sabotage, what you can do to get around those roadblocks. Okay, so if this is interesting for you, it is only 1 hour of your time and it's only 45 Swiss francs. I host this gig over on Fiverr, but I'm also going to put a link down in the show notes. So if you're interested, hit me up.